In order to keep up with the Joneses on Twitch, with Black Ops 4 taking over the #1 spot, Fortnite just released their weekly patch a day early. Plus, we've got some new BBD bops that were data mined to discuss in the Fortnite news. Unlike most Fortnite patches that just add a few new things with some minor bug fixes, this time it's like a normal video game patch that fixes a lot of bugs with minor new features, such as a new vehicle called the Quadcrasher, but unfortunately it only holds 2 players including the driver, not 4 as the name implies, and you don't have to be a Mario Kart expert in order to figure out how the boost feature works, as it fills up by driving normally, and just like a NOS button, you press it to have your back thrown against the seat, as well as being able to smash through buildings during your boost. It should really be called the Dual Smasher, as it makes much more sense with the description of the new set of wheels. There's also a brand new event system that was teased, which allows any lame person to be a wannabe Gamma Lab snorting E-athlete by being able to display and enroll in upcoming tournaments which feature skill-based matchmaking in order to try and maximize skill and minimize randomness in a pretty heavily RNG-based game. Good luck with that one. If you get enough eliminations and or survive for long enough, you'll get more points in each session during the tournament window, which is used for the skill-based matchmaking, and at the end of that time window, the players with the most points get a golden pin, since not everyone needs a participatory trophy anymore because fuck your self-esteem. At the start of a new tournament session, you're back to square one, even if you managed to play over or under your head in the prior event. Speaking of new modes, last week saw the introduction of the Disco Domination limited time game mode, and there have been some changes to it, including reducing bandage spawns by 50% and removing all common weapons, which will hopefully mean more shields will show up for when you get thrust back into the game without them after dying and respawning, and they moved around the spawns and dance floors to make the game not be a giant fight over the A objective. Additionally, the Porta Fortress was pulled back out again in order to investigate issues with having a get out of jail free card while being outbuilt, so the little sister Porta Fort now has increased spawn rate since there's only one of these monstrosities for shitters that can't build. The guided missile was removed in a hotfix during the week, but it's back now thanks to fixing several of the bugs found with the bane of Season 3's existence. In other weapon tweaks, the double barrel shotty won't have the reload animation interrupted if you attempt to fire it without shells. The grapple will no longer permanently attach you to a supply drop, and for all weapons, the equip animations no longer skip when attempting to sprint and target to get around some of those cheeky slowdowns. They also fixed some audio bugs, including getting rid of that annoying ass Doppler effect on gliders, since it would get stuck in an infinite loop to make it seem like Scotty is trying to beam you up the whole fucking match. Oh, and if you're playing with the inferior input device, there's new build options for controllers, and if your PS4 is plugged into a 4K TV, the game will actually render in 1440p instead of 1080p, because even in a game with as cartoony graphics as Fortnite, the console can't actually do native 4K. The Week 4 challenges were leaked in my last Fortnite news video, but since some of the Week 3 challenges were actually wrong, I don't put any faith in the Week 4 challenges being actually right, so for now we'll just have to have a wait and see. And while the new patch only ushered in minor map changes, like a new racetrack for the Quadcrasher east of Junk Junction for people that were AFK at the start of the bus ride, because that's the only fucking reason why you'd ever land there, there are some new map events that were data mined involving the floating island and the rune locations. Many have noticed that the floating island that used to be in the middle of Loot Lake, making it such that there's no fucking reason ever to drop there ever again, but it's been migrating around the map in the reverse order that the cube from Season 5 had traversed. The current corrupted areas or rune locations now have new assets on them in the code, which signal different events that may occur, like opening, focus, pulse, beam, and close, which may be similar to the current glowing areas in the rune zones that give a big vertical boost like the impulse nades RIP, or it could be something completely different. Hopefully though, this time we won't have people live streaming it for hours on end staring at one of these rune zones for one of the events that might not ever actually happen, like that volcano shit. Just like a Billy Mays commercial, but wait, there's more. In terms of data mined items, we've got some new things to play dress up with in a shooter in the coming soon Black Hole. First is the Spider Knight, which doesn't look like a spider nor a knight, so use your imagination here. The Arachne, with its numerous red eyes on the mask, making up for the fact that you can't actually fucking see out of it. Guan Yu holding up 2 fingers is probably a reference to the fact that he was last alive in 200 AD. And finally, the onesie with the Durburger pattern, which was leaked in last week's video, finally has some visuals. As for gliders, it's a hatchling for the Spider Collection and Divine Dragon for the Chinese skin, along with back blings in the form of long legs and spider shield, as if we need 2 for those ugly ass spider skins, and the Loyal Shield. Finally, the pickaxes with Webbreaker for the Spider Collection, Guandao for that Chinese collection, and the Moonrise that looks much better with a random skin than the others do with their collections. Ha, go figure. Lastly, in leaked cosmetics are 2 new emotes from the last time with the headbang, since Halloween is the unofficial holiday of heavy metal, and Electro Slide for those of you that haven't grown out of the 1980s yet. Lastly, in leaks, there is an upcoming gift system whereby instead of purchasing an item to put in your own locker, you can purchase an item and then send it to somebody else. The menu screenshots show the ability to select purchase as a gift, along with the follow-up box that allows for the personalization of said gift, so now you can feel like those florists writing those really cheesy messages on arrangements of flowers, but hey, at least you remember to actually send some flowers this time. You're also able to gift to multiple players at once if you want to buy the same emote many times for many people. However, recipients of said gifts seem to have a 10-day cooldown on the items that they're leeching off of people that do have access to mom's credit card on their account, while their own parents are smart enough to keep that piece of plastic away from your dumb ass. It is interesting to note that you cannot gift players items that are already in your locker, thus you'd still need to shell out way too much fucking money for an account with skins on it that you want but can no longer purchase, like the Ghoul Trooper and other skins from back from when the game was shit in 2017. And finally, we have some news regarding Epic Games cracking down on cheaters. The first bit is that Zim users on the Xbox have been getting kicked from lobbies with an error message that indicates bad input device. While PS4 has keyboard and mouse support for the console, it's no surprise that Xbox is behind and haven't yet implemented the plug and play for keyboard and mouse, so those VCR users need to use a Zim input conversion device in order to use mouse and keyboard on their Xbox. The problem with this is that since a mouse is much more precise than aiming with a joystick, there are tons of complaints about unfairness on the platform. The other side of this coin is that without direct mouse and keyboard support from Microsoft, there's no other way besides using an input conversion device to have this type of setup, and the Zim is not just for keyboard and mouse users, its main purpose is for people with disabilities in order to be able to remap an input device when they're unable to use a controller. Plus, a Zim isn't a direct input stream for the raw mouse input, it's processed as if it's a joystick, which limits the capabilities of actually using that said mouse, so it's not as powerful as it would be on a PC or PS4. It might be slightly better than using a joystick alone, but it's certainly not the same as someone using a mouse with raw input on a console. Supposedly, there is a Zim microcode update that bypasses the Epic Games check to kick players from the lobby, but the solution here is pretty simple. Make Zim users similar to PS4 players with keyboard and mouse from the last patch by placing them into a lobby with only PC players and other keyboard and mouse users. You have to remember that using the Zim isn't cheating. It serves a purpose of allowing gamers with disabilities to actually play the game. Until Microsoft gets off their sorry ass and provides this support, you can't simply kick players from lobbies because of having a Zim, because there isn't an alternative like there is on the PS4 where you can just plug in your keyboard and mouse and play. While I disagree with the stance of Epic on that first story, the next one I'm in full agreement with. Epic Games is suing 2 different content creators for making, distributing, and selling hacks and mods for their game due to violations of the DMCA copyright laws. These people are making profits off of code and assets in an unlicensed manner, so therefore they are subject to the copyright laws, which is why the tweet of being sued over a YouTube video is completely reductionist, especially when said YouTube videos include titles like trolling people by using ESP and aimbot. I'm sorry, but perfectly normal reactions to being killed by people that are fucking cheating isn't trolling. That is you just being a complete fuck trumpet by ruining the experience for people playing the game the way that it's supposed to be by cheating in the game, and when people get angry at you for not playing the game within the rules, that's a perfectly acceptable reaction. I know I get mad whenever I run into ass clowns that have to cheat in order to play a video game. Not to mention, these are the same people that are making a profit over selling these cheats to even more people. I'm glad that Epic's trying to clean up their game by going after the source of cheats, not the middlemen, but don't get me wrong, the middlemen should be punished for cheating. However, unless you go after the creators of said cheats, those middlemen will just make new accounts and continue their bad behavior. Anyways, what do you think about the new patch, upcoming leaks, and Epic's stance on cracking down on cheating? Down below in the comments section. I've been the Schwans27, out like the Bucks defensive coordinator. Until next time.